So I hit the 5-inch wide target. I think I've got the elevation figured out. I'm gonna try to get some of the 3s here. Those would be the ones off to the right side. Got a whole, there we go. Hi, and welcome back to the shop. I'm John. I'm glad you stopped by. Today, we're gonna talk about Sig P250s, probably the most hated firearm that Sig has put out in the last 30 years. So why is that? In order to answer some of those questions, I do have some video of me out in the cold. It's like -35 wind chill out, so I did take a couple of these out and shoot some rounds. If you're not familiar with the Sig P250, it was Sig's first foray into the removable fire control units. So the Sig P250 came out, I think, in 2006 to moderate success. It is a double action only. It's got a hammer. I'm sure you can see that there in camera. Basically, it was an update on some of the other platforms that Sig had out. They rethought a few things, and they came out with what ended up being a pretty revolutionary design. These came out actually to quite a bit of fanfare. I believe they were like the NRA's Gun of the Year or something. You know, like a bunch of those pretend awards. People really ate these up right in the beginning. They did have some problems when they first came out, some Generation 1 teething issues. It took Sig about 1.5 or 2 years to figure that out and get updates and all the guns back in and back out. That's kind of when I jumped on board, 2008. I bought my first one. I don't know if it was this one, this fire control unit, or a different one. But this is what I've got in front of me. I bought the compact because at the time I was carrying a 229 basically every day, and 229 with a 15-round magazine, just too heavy for me to carry 18 hours a day at the job I had at the time I was on my feet. So I gravitated to one of these. I never had any problems. I thought they were a pretty solid platform, but I transitioned from revolvers. So the double action only trigger was not a big deal for me. But ultimately, that's what killed this platform, is people just could not deal with the double action only. This became an excellent platform once they got all of the little wrinkles ironed out and they got the guns back in the hands of the shooters. However, I mean, I said it again, I'll say it a million times today, the double action only trigger is just not for everybody. So the gun's pretty ergonomic. If you're familiar with the P320, which this is my everyday carry gun, this is a P320 X carry with an optic. I love it. For me, especially as a firearms instructor, this is a better platform, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I don't think anybody would be undergunned with the 3 frame sizes or the 3 slide sizes that the 250 was available for. And the cool thing about the 250 is there's a million accessories out there for the P320s. So from this point forward, I'm just going to say 320 or 250. I think we've kind of talked about it enough. I'm sure you'll be able to follow along and it won't be a problem. Like I said, most of the accessories that are available for the 320 will just absolutely bolt on to the 250. What was Sig going for when they designed this firearm? Really, they were after the growing self-defense CCW crowd that had just popped up all across the nation. A whole bunch of new states adopted concealed carry, shell issue concealed carry. So there were a lot of people in the market for a reliable polymer frame, mid-size, Glock 19 size gun, as well as there were a lot of police departments at that time that were getting out of the legacy era guns. So the Beretta 92s, the Sig 226s and 229s, those guns were coming out of the holsters of a lot of police at that time, and Sig saw an open market. I'm not sure that they had everything dialed in the way they wanted it to, but they released this thing to the public. So I know I'm going to harp on this quite a bit, but I'm going to talk about this long, heavy, double action trigger pull. So it does not bother me. I know there's a lot of shooters out there that just cannot tolerate it, but I think for a self-defense gun, Sig kind of knew what they were doing here. So see how well you can see this. That is about a 7.5 pound trigger pull all the way to the rear. So I don't need to rack the slide to reset this because it is double action only, but I will just for instructional purposes. And then it has this really, really long reset. So this is it. This is the trigger pull. For a defensive handgun, to get this gun out of your holster and into the fight, I don't think that that's a detriment, but a lot of people obviously did, or Sig would have kept making them. All right, so by comparison, I've got the X carry. This is a 320 platform gun. I'm rocking the flat face X carry trigger, but you'll see here, this is about a 5 pound trigger pull. Still a little bit of mushiness. It is a striker fired gun. and the reset right there. So about 1/16 of the reset of the 250. So I think we beat the trigger pull issue to death. That is the biggest detriment to why these guns didn't take off and become more popular. And when I talked about those teething issues the gun had when it was brand new, I have come through this quite a few times. So the compact size guns and slides, they came with a captured recoil spring from the factory in this plastic guide rod. These plastic guide rods are garbage. I think this is the third one I broke. In fact, I just called Sig this morning to see if I could get one more warrantied out because I thought the parts would start drying up, and that is the case. So they still have these flat springs. I think this is a 15-pound recoil spring, but they no longer carry the captured recoil spring assembly. They basically just told me, hey, you can go to Gray Guns. They make a tungsten rod. Well, I don't want a tungsten rod and what's essentially a carry gun because tungsten's heavy. Or the other option they gave me, which is what I've been doing for years anyway, is to just buy the legacy part. So this is the recoil assembly out of a Sig 229, and it works just fine. So no big deal there. Why in 2021 would somebody even consider this platform over, the older, more mature now, all the kinks worked out of its big brother, the striker fired gun? Well, I think it's got a number of advantages. So if you're not familiar with guns and you're just getting into it, this long, heavy, double action trigger pull, I don't think it's a detriment for concealed carry. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw on the full-size slide here. Once again, this is the compact. This is the larger grip module. And this is what they called the carry. No, excuse me. Sig has gone through a lot of different nomenclature for these. They originally called this the compact. This quickly became the subcompact. This is the 12-round grip frame. Anyway, I think for somebody that's just getting started shooting or just wants a house gun, or maybe they want to arm their wife or girlfriend or their boyfriend or husband or whatever it is, that's really not a gun person, is not willing to put in the time and effort to get really good training, still want to have a gun, still want to have a safe platform, but aren't really interested in going to the local range and knocking down plate racks just as quickly as humanly possible, I think this is still a super great platform. You pull this out of your holster, it's going to take a conscious decision to pull this trigger. So like I said, this example here, I think it's like 7.5 pounds. There's no stacking. It's a nice, steady pull all the way to the rear, just like a double action revolver. And when I say double action revolver, I'm talking about Smith & Wesson, not the older Colts where it was like real light and then you felt all that stacking. You can tell I'm obviously a Smith & Wesson guy. But I would say this trigger pull is just as good as a lot of out-of-the-box Smith & Wesson revolvers. I would say it's also about as good as the HK. I believe they call it the LEM, their double action only system. As far as pull wise, just as smooth and easy to pull as the HKs, just the reset is really long. I think I've showed this before. This is my Tier 1 Defense appendix holster. I can drop another 15, 17, 21 round magazine. This is what my 320 rides in every single day. However, a lot of people just are not comfortable with a striker fired gun in the front of their pants. And I totally get it. It's a training issue. But I think if you're not willing to do, thousands and thousands of draws and presentations and get training on a proper and safe way to do this, then yeah, I don't think a striker fired gun with a, somewhere between 3 and 5 pounds, depending on the model you bought, trigger pull is a good idea. There's not a lot of pre-travel on this guy. You're right there, you're at the wall. Once again, 4.5 pounds, this gun's gonna go off. So if you're not comfortable shoving one of these down the front of your pants, right by your Johnson, and more importantly, the arteries in your legs, if you're not willing to put in the time and effort to get comfortable with this system, then a hammer-fired gun is perfect. So if you put your finger, I don't know how well this is translating on camera, get you real nice and close. So this hammer here, you can easily just put your thumb over this if you wanted to carry appendix. And there you go. This gun cannot go off. It's going to be physically impossible as long as your thumb is here to keep that hammer from coming back. And this holster, unfortunately, was not really designed for the full size. The other thing, once again, I'm talking about new shooters here. These are dirt cheap. So you can find a Sig P250 with 1 slide and 1 magazine online right now, even in the great gun buying panic of 2021 after the election. You can find these guns for $300. And once you're on board with the system, I'm just going to show you. The magazines are plentiful. The military has gone to a 320 platform, the Model 17 or M17 and M18. So magazines are out there. They're fairly inexpensive. Those magazines are interchangeable with the 250 with a few caveats here. So I am going to show, if you're just getting into this platform, this is the full-size grip frame. Say this was going to be your home defense gun. Don't buy like the Legion base plates or any of the base plates. They won't snap in. The geometry is different. But virtually any of the other magazines are going to snap right in. You can upgrade to the X carry. I didn't bring one of those out here just so I didn't have a million different guns in front of me. But you can drop this platform right into the X carry grip or the tungsten infused Legion grip. I'm not sure why you would do that. These are not game guns, right? These guns really are just for self-defense. I cannot shoot these nearly as quickly. After that first shot, the reset, the relatively high bore axis, which I've talked about in another video, I don't think it's a big deal for self-defense, but for IDPA or USPSA, it's a big issue about putting rounds on target. I personally, and I'd be willing to say that just about nobody out there can shoot the 250 as quickly as they can the 320. But for a self-defense tool, I know I've talked about this before, and I'm kind of probably preaching to the choir at this point, but the most important thing of self-defense, a self-defense shooting, is going to be able to get that gun out, get that gun into the fight, present the gun, and take that first shot. Now, follow-up shots are important situationally. I've said this before, and I got a lot of flack for it. I said I didn't think there were a whole lot of scenarios where I would find myself where I needed to get this gun out into the fight and fire 21 rounds as quickly as I possibly could. My contention has been, and always probably will be, that unless somebody's running at me with a knife, where I just need to do a failure to stop drill and get as many rounds into them as humanly possible, at some point, whether that's after shot 1, hopefully 2, 3, 5, whatever it is, we need to stop and reassess whether we need to keep shooting. We're legally and morally responsible for every round we fire. So the ability to fire 21 rounds in 3 seconds, or whatever it may be, is not nearly as important to me as just Joe Blow citizen walking around as my ability to conceal carry that gun, get that gun into the fight, and start getting rounds on target. And then I can reassess. And that's just a training thing. But I think people have this mentality where, hey, I have this race gun. It's built to go fast. If I get attacked in a dark alley, I'm going to be able to pull this thing out and dump 21 rounds. I'm going to do a tack reload. I'm going to slam in another magazine, and I'm going to go to town. And I just don't think that's the reality. If you feel that way, well, this platform is probably just not for you. So another weird thing here, this is really hard to film. My camera just doesn't pick up black, but the rear sight is part of the assembly of the slide. So you can absolutely replace the rear sight. Unfortunately, you're going to have to go with Sig. Nobody else makes aftermarket rear sights because it does do a job in retaining the firing spring assembly. So it's not just like every other gun where you can just slide out the rear sight. Front sights, they're the exact same sights as all of the SIGs, basically. All the legacy SIGs, 226, 229, 320, they all use the same front dovetail. As far as I know, the first generation guns may have been different. Now, I may have already touched upon it, but when I said that this is a modular gun, modular system, so what I mean is you buy this gun right now, street price, right around $300. It's a good, reliable gun. Buy the compact because, and these are still out there, you can purchase the whole rest of the system in one of these SIG +2 things. So you get a grip frame, a slide, so this is the 4.7 inch, and you also get the 3 inch, same thing, you get the whole assembly all together as a unit. So your fire control unit can transfer into these other size guns. So you would have a platform that would run the gamut from basically 3 inches all the way up to 4.7 inches. I don't really know how practical that is. I think if you had the compact where this gun shines, and I think most of what I'm going to refer to as the combat style handguns shine, there's really not a huge advantage to that, but a lot of people are really into accessorizing and buying new stuff, and it is an option. I have 2 fire control units. Most of the time they live in this full-size grip frames, and I have 2 full-size grip frames, and that's what I use in concealed carry classes to new shooters, somebody that's maybe never shot a gun before. I feel like this is a really good platform to get out there and start to digest the fundamentals of marksmanship. All right, as we're winding down here, I know I touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'm going to say that the accuracy level that's achievable with one of these guns, if you're willing to put in the time to master the trigger pull, is excellent. I don't think that this gun is any less mechanically accurate than my fairly tricked out carry gun. The 320, the striker fired system, is much easier to learn how to shoot. But I'm not going to keep beating a dead horse here, but it does come with the disadvantages associated with the striker fired gun. So if you're going to shove this thing, pointing right at your femoral artery, but you want a good, reliable, fairly compact, depending on the grip frame size, 9mm for concealed carry. I don't think you can really go wrong with these. I think these are a steal. I'm going to put in some video footage of me out. Now keep in mind, I'm standing in somewhere between ankle and knee deep snow. I don't shoot these double action only SIGs very often, but I had no problem hitting the targets. Now I think when I'm out there, I said that the targets were 2, 3, and 4 inches or whatever I said. I went up and stood next to them on the plate rack. I believe they were 4, 5, and 6 inches. So my shooting was not nearly as phenomenal as maybe it looked like. And yeah, I was not able to connect every single shot. I mean, I'd be lying to you. I was at 40 some yards in the freezing cold with a platform I don't carry every day. But I think I shot well enough just to show you that the gun is very capable. All right, so we're here at the home range. You can see everything's covered in snow. We're just gonna take some long shots. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see up there. I've got some hangers, some 3, 4, and 5-inch plates. I've got a P250. So I've got the P250 and the 250, both compacts, one with a red dot, one without. I'm just gonna see how many of them I can get in there. Just trying to show that the 250 is a good and capable platform. It's just not a fast platform. So it is negative 21 degrees, or it was a little bit ago. So we're not gonna be out here forever. I'm gonna set the camera up. Knee deep in the snow. All right, let's see what we can do. So this is, once again, this is just slow fire, just to kind of see what we can do. These are some reloads. Turn the dot up out here, my lord. Whoa. Oh, I pulled that one right off the right edge. Let's try to get one more in there here. Oh, I'm shaking so bad. It's so... All right, so I think that goes to show the 320, I don't know, 43 yards here. Definitely capable performer. Got the hammer fired, double action only, Sig P250 compact. Just fell into, I don't know, up to the knee here in snow. I'm just gonna fire off a magazine here. I don't know how many of these I'm gonna be able to hit without the dot, but I think I'll be able to get a couple in there. Ooh, I better back up to make it even. All right. Double action only. I haven't shot this in a while. Let's see what we can do. Ooh, low. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, so I hit the 5-inch wide target. I think I've got the elevation figured out. I'm gonna try to get some of the 3s here. Those would be the ones off to the right side. Got a whole, there we go. There we go. Next, we'll go back to the big target here. So I know that that wasn't the most impressive show you've ever seen here. Lots of guys could do this. But my point is, these guns worked, right? There's nothing special about them, but they did work. People can't get by the trigger. The trigger worked just fine. I think my hit percentage was just as good with the double action only iron sights as they were my 320 compact with the dot. Now part of that is the dot's you know, sighted in for some different ammo, but still, once I figured it out, I could have hit with either one. But I am freezing my balls off, so we are going to go back inside. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that clip of me freezing my nuts off out there. I had a good time, but yeah, it was just brutally cold. Can't wait for it to warm up and for us to have springtime weather here, so I can do a little more shooting. And hopefully at that time, you know, maybe ammo is a little more available, and I can get back into some classes. But getting back to the Sig P250, I said I was going to do an update on it. I hope that I did it justice here. I think this is a great platform if you're looking for a hammer-fired, double-action only gun. I don't think you can go wrong. The prices right now are just so dirt cheap. Availability is as good as it's ever going to be on this particular platform. But don't be afraid of it, right? Put in some time. If this is your platform, these guns shoot just fine. Just put in some time on manipulating that trigger pull. And the great thing about this gun is because it is double action only, you can go and you can sit, you know, make sure that the gun's clear. You can sit and you can watch a movie, and you can pull this trigger pull 500 times while you're watching Princess Bride or whatever your favorite movie is, the Kardashians, whatever. Go sit down, shoot this gun a whole bunch. Be aware of the limitations, and most of those limitations are the trigger, if you're not willing for that. I hope that somebody out there got a good tip about these recoil spring assemblies. These are junk. Sig should be ashamed. But in their defense, the one good thing is they did decide to build the recoil assembly around a legacy platform. So if I were to buy one of these brand new today, I wouldn't even mess with the captured recoil spring. I would throw this thing out and I would go buy a $9 229 recoil spring assembly and just drop it in there and never worry about it again. Any questions, comments, go ahead and put it down there. I'm sure this won't be one of my more popular videos just because the Sig P250 is not on a lot of people's radar. But if there's anything I can do better, please go ahead and throw it down in the comments. Also, subscribe. I didn't realize that subscriptions were important, but apparently the more people that are subscribed, the wider audience YouTube will open up and let people watch my videos. So if you enjoyed this, consider doing that. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by the very chilly garage. I appreciate it. And you have a good day. Bye.